China's president of being socially inept and inattentive. Luckily for Jinping, he could raise the Great Firewall of China anytime he wants, and he did just that, pulling the video from the web.
Number 9. Boris Yeltsin antics.
Russia's first democratically elected president, Boris Yeltsin, was known for living at large. He frequently expressed this through the international diplomatic language of dance. Indeed, the dancing Russian bear has been known to get footloose in public, perhaps one too many times. After reportedly enjoying a few glasses of bubbly, Yeltsin snatched the orchestra conductor's baton and took over the brass section while serenading the crowd. Yes, this man had one of the world's largest stockpiles of nuclear weapons at the time. Think about that. Number 8. Gordon Brown calls voter a bigot.
I'm mortified by what's happened.
Like Richard Nixon before him, UK Prime Minister Gordon Brown made people uncomfortable with his aloof social skills. And like Nixon, Brown fell victim to a live microphone. During an on-camera street interview, Brown had a conversation with an elderly widow concerned about debt and immigration.
And it's very nice to see you. Take care.
When Brown left, his pin-on microphone was still on, and he was overheard calling the 65-year-old a bigoted woman.
Everything, she just looks like a bigoted woman.
While barking at his staff for putting him up to it.
Should never have put me with that woman. Whose idea was that?
Instead of sounding off, Brown probably wished that it was his mic that had the sound off, especially considering how big the story became in the media thereafter, and Brown's multiple subsequent apologies.
I've given her my sincere apologies. I misunderstood what she said, and she has accepted that there was a misunderstanding, and she's accepted my apology.
Number 7. Rob Ford states that he has more than enough to eat at home. Former crack-smoking mayor of Toronto, Rob Ford has been known for putting his foot in his mouth on many occasions, and apparently a lot more than that at home, too.
You smoke crack cocaine?
Exactly. Yes, I have smoked crack cocaine.
While the beleaguered mayor was responding to interrogations outside his office by TV reporters about prostitution and drug abuse allegations,
I don't appreciate people calling Alana a prostitute.
Ford then addressed claims that he had allegedly propositioned a female policy advisor, Olivia Gondek, for oral sex.
And it makes me sick how people are saying this.
His response to clear the air was masterly, and understandably shocked and disgusted the Canadian city.
Oh, and the last thing was Olivia Gondek. It says that I wanted to eat her pussy. Olivia Gondek. I've never said that in my life to her. I would never do that. I'm happily married. I've got more than enough to eat at home.
Number 6. Gerald Ford falls down leaving Air Force One twice.
Raindrops kept falling on their heads as Gerald and Betty Ford arrived in Austria.
During his U.S. presidency, Gerald Ford became known for being a bit of an oaf.
The duties of the office on which I am about to enter.
And he blamed his accident-prone behavior on an old college football knee injury. This may explain the first time Ford fell down a flight of stairs while he was getting off of Air Force One, after which he got up and shook hands with a hesitant Chancellor of Austria. But this wouldn't be the last time he tripped. He even fell going up the stairs. It seems a career in college football prepared Ford for 2 things in politics: to pick yourself up after you fall, and to have a thick skull.
I'm Gerald Ford, and you're not.
Number 5. Tony Abbott winks when a woman tells him she's a sex worker.
Mr. Abbott, I would like to ask you if you'd like your mother or your grandmother to be in my situation.
While on an Australian radio program answering listeners' questions, Conservative Australian Prime Minister Tony Abbott was berated by an elderly woman about his austerity policies that forced her into poverty and working on an adult sex line.
I just survive on around $400 a fortnight after I pay my rent.
Appearing amused by the woman's business down under, Abbott looked to the radio host off camera, winked and smirked, seemingly in response to the woman's profession.
And I work on an adult sex line to make ends meet.
The show's producer took to Twitter, tweeting that he was really surprised by Abbott's insensitive gesture. Abbott received widespread backlash and was vilified for being a, quote, total creep.
Well, look, I was looking at John Fane. He was smiling at me and I winked back at him. I shouldn't have done it, Carl. I should have been more focused on the caller and less focused on the interviewer.
Number 4, Bill Clinton falls asleep.
Let freedom ring from all over America.
One day in 2008, former U.S. President Bill Clinton had a dream, just not in the right place or at the right time.
By uniting and taking action to make this world a better place in which to live.
While attending a 2008 memorial to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Clinton took a little catnap while he was on stage in the background of a speech that was being given on King's struggle for racial tolerance in America.
Vanity asks the question, is that position popular?
Not only did Clinton fall asleep, he also quite noticeably woke himself up midway through the oration, while a packed audience, as well as the entire world, watched uncomfortably on TV.
I believe that the time, as Victor Hugo said, is always right to do that which is right. Now there's something in America today that is not right.
Number 3, Joe Biden asks a man in a wheelchair to stand up.
Chuck Graham, state senator, is here. Chuck.
Old white faithful, classy smoking Joe Biden has been known as a reliable gold mine of political gaffes. Perhaps no other instance perfectly embodies Joe Biden than this. During a campaign rally in 2008, the VP nominee asked a Missouri state senator to stand up to be applauded in a room full of campaign supporters.
Stand up, Chuck. Let him see you. Oh, God love you. What am I talking about?
Unfortunately, Biden didn't know or had forgotten that Senator Graham was a paraplegic in a wheelchair, making for quite an embarrassing incident.
I tell you what, you're making everybody else stand up, though, pal. Thank you very, very much.
Number 2, Howard Dean emits primal scream.
You know something?
It was the most spectacular third-place finishing speech in the history of presidential White House races.
We will not give up!
During a 2004 Iowa caucus rally, former Vermont governor and presidential contender Howard Dean doubled down on defeat during a monster truck rally-like speech.
We're going to South Carolina and Oklahoma and Arizona and North Dakota and New Mexico!
The media shortly dubbed it Dean's I Have a Scream speech. In it, Dean builds up the crowd and brings down the House before concluding awkwardly with a loud, high-pitched yelp.
And then we're going to Washington, D.C. to take back the White House!
Afterward, the crowd faded away and heckles shortly set in. Since then, the moment has often been cited as the media gaffe that basically terminated his campaign. Before we unveil our top pick, here are a few honorable mentions.
It's 3 agencies of government when I get there that are gone. Commerce, education, and the, what's the third one there? Let's see.
Je l'ai fait sans aucune agressivité, mais nous avons échangé. J'ai trouvé un homme ouvert au dialogue.
I did not overrule Derek Lewis.
Did you threaten to overrule him?
Mr. Marriott was not suspended.
Did you threaten to overrule him?
I have accounted for my decision to dismiss Derek Lewis.
Did you threaten to overrule him?
I read most of them again with a great appreciation for the press, for the media.
But like what one specifically? I'm curious that you.
All of them, any of them that have been in front of me over all these years.
Number 1, every George W. Bush stuttering speech.
1, 2, 3, 4.
From a shoe being thrown at him to putting his foot in his own mouth, George Walker Bush would have probably benefited from a speech therapist, like King George VI of the UK did for his 2 terms as US president.
There would have been a deficit, but there wouldn't have been the commensurate
On several occasions, George Bush Jr. had fallen victim to speech impediments and cringeworthy Bushism phraseology. His speeches almost deserve a top 10 list of their own.
Anybody here got 4 kids? 3 kids? You got 4? 4.
Regardless, no other politician has, by far, caused as many face-palming analogies, mid-speech mental blanks, and half-baked statements than the 43rd President of the United States.
I'd like to stay here all day, but I gotta go to Vegas. Something about what goes on there stays there, or something like that, you know?
Do you agree with our list? Which awkward political moment belongs on our list?
Let me.
For more awkward top 10s published every day, be sure to subscribe to WatchMojo.com.
There is nothing that a good defense cannot beat a better offense.
Great chance, great effort. He wanted so much to do better than that. Yeah, and he's good enough to have done better than that. Well, we don't see it very often, but the manager is going for broke here. He's allowed 3 fresh faces, and here they come all at once. Manchester United moving into the attack. They're getting the ball forward, excellent. That's a bit pernickety, that, from the referee, to bring it back to the foul and spoil the attack. Just tries to turn it in with his head, and that is simply sensational. Time they had a bit of a breather and they've used it to good effect. Manchester United looking fresh and scoring.
Oh, beautiful, knocked the ball about, and what a finish.
You bet your life on that. They've left it very, very late, but they've got the most important thing, the goal.
Just 15 minutes left as we start the second period of extra time. Here come the supporting cast for him. Both sides trying to get to the ball as it's broken loose. How are the defenders going to cope with this as the opposition come at them with the ball? That's safely played back to the player who gave him the ball in the first place. That's great intercepting by the player who read the danger, kept his concentration. Shots on here, and it's not a good effort, and he knows it.
Well, look at him, he's absolutely disgusted with himself.
And we're down to the last 3 minutes in the second half of extra time. He's not going to get caught in possession here, or he shouldn't, because the support is good. What's he going to... That is the final whistle.